I just remember going to business meetings in my suit and sitting in there and just kind of hating it, just thinking I didn't fit in, felt uncomfortable in my own skin. I mean, doing these corporate presentations, I thought it was kind of phony and kind of soulless, actually. So on the night of my 30th birthday, I was in a bar in San Francisco, a place called the Paragon, which is in the Marina District of San Francisco. Yep. And I was drinking with my buddy. And at midnight, I remember telling them, hey, I'm going to leave. And they said, so yeah, let's have another round of tequila to celebrate your 30th birthday. And I said, no, I'm going to run 30 miles to celebrate instead.
All right, you're listening to HawkeTalk. I'm here today with Dean Karnazes. How are you?
I'm well, Eric. How are you? I like the hat. I like your hat. I need to get one of those. I wore the wrong hat for the interview.
Perfect. To sort of kick it off, I assume, the day you're born, you're in the delivery room, you pop out and just start running and never stopped, right? That's how this all works.
It's not so far from that. Actually, my earliest childhood recollections are running home from kindergarten.
Yeah.
So my mom has told me that I was like pretty much nonstop movement from the moment I came out, but from when my brain formed enough to have a memory, I literally remember running home from school when I was a little boy.
That's awesome. And so where are you from originally?
I grew up in LA.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
Yep. But I was born in Inglewood.
Uh-huh.
But I don't want to tell you how old I am because your dad probably wasn't even born when I was born. But it was, for anyone listening or watching this, it was safe. It was safe for a 5-year-old to run home for school in Inglewood when I was born. So it's
my dad was born in Boyle Heights in 1955.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
so,
different era.
By the way, similar situation where back then it was a very different community.
Very different, and it was the '60s. I mean, I was a product of the '60s. So my parents were, there wasn't a lot of rules in my household, let's say. Yep. And I just remember, running home from school. I remember sitting in the classroom waiting for the bell to go off, like trying to have the discipline to sit still because I knew I'd be a bad boy if I moved. Yep. And so I tried to sit there and just wait, be patient. My mom was a public school teacher. And my dad was call it a field naturalist. So he was, teaching kids about the outdoors.
Oh, very cool. So you did have this sort of outdoor education focused family, and that makes a lot of sense. And so early on, I mean, again, you said you were, obviously we all ran, I think in kindergarten and first grade and as kids, we all run around, but what were your kind of interests as a kid? What were you into? Was it all athletics and sports, or what drew you in?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much into the outdoors. My dad and I used to go hiking all around the San Gabriel Mountains. I remember going to Joshua Tree. I remember hiking Mount Whitney when I was 11 years old. I just lived for the outdoors, and not so much just the physically pushing myself, which I was into, but also the adventure, like seeing new things, being exposed to new things. And that was my reality. I loved to read as well, but these, back then it was physical books. So I remember taking books with me everywhere I went and reading when I had some downtime.
Yep. And so 11 years old now, Whitney, who's the youngest person to ever hike Mount Whitney? That's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, back then I was probably one of the younger. Nowadays, it's like people are getting their kids to do all kinds of crazy things. So yeah. And I wasn't trying to set any records. I was just, out there to climb Mount Whitney. Yeah.
Yep. And were you like, in terms of like, I want to be this when I grow up, did you have that kind of like when you're 6, 7, like the drive of like, I want to be an XYZ when I grow up? Did you have those kind of dreams?
No, I didn't have any aspirations. I wasn't sure what I was. Well, I'm still not sure what I'm going to be when I grow up. That's a problem.
But seems to have worked out.
I love to run. I remember loving to run. I love the outdoors. I got into surfing growing up in Southern California. Of course, you surf.
Yeah.
And I was very much an outdoors guy. And then it kind of occurred to me, you gotta feed yourself. You got to keep the light. You got to pay the rent somehow. So I thought, go to college. So I went to college.
Yeah.
I went to Cal Poly, actually, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And then I went to graduate school.
What did you study in undergrad?
Biochemistry.
So what were your thoughts there? Were you going to get into pre-med, or like what were your interests that got you into bio? Because what I hear from biochem is it is a tough thing to major in.
At first I was into marine biology, and I really enjoyed that, but I thought you'll never make a living as a marine biologist. So get a broader degree.
Yeah.
And then I got very interested in athletics. And I thought, oh, you need to learn how to make like athletic food. That's kind of innovative.
Yeah.
So I went to graduate school, and I have a graduate degree in food chemistry. So I studied food science. And then I thought, well, you've got two technical degrees, you need a broader business degree. So I went and got an MBA, and I thought, okay, here's how you live your life. Just get a good job, and then happiness follows. I thought that was kind of like the recipe for success. Go to a good college.
Yep.
Land a good job. So I had a very comfortable corporate job in San Francisco.
Doing what?
I was director of marketing for a global pharmaceutical company, GlaxoSmithKline.
Got it.
Yeah. And, and I had all the perks. I mean, I had a company car. I had, a nice paycheck. I had stock options, bonuses, 401k matching, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I was kind of miserable.
Yeah. What
I
was that? I mean, listen, I know that people have their assumptions with what would cause misery there, but what was it about that made you miserable?
I wasn't sure, Eric. That's a good question. I mean, I just remember going to business meetings in my suit and sitting in there and just kind of hating it, just thinking I didn't fit in.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel, I kind of like felt uncomfortable in my own skin. I mean, doing these corporate presentations, I thought it was kind of phony and kind of soulless, actually.
Yep.
So on the night of my 30th birthday, I was in a bar in San Francisco, a place called the Paragon, which is in the Marina District of San Francisco.
Yep.
And I was drinking with my buddies. It was my 30th birthday. And at midnight, I remember telling them, hey, I'm going to leave. And they said, where are you going tonight? Still, yeah, let's have another round of tequila to celebrate your 30th birthday. And I said, no, I'm going to run 30 miles to celebrate instead.
Huh.
And I hadn't run in the past 15 years. I remember they looked at me and they said, but you're not even going to run. You're drunk. And I said, I am, but I'm still going to do it. And I'll never forget, I walked out of this bar, and I didn't even own running gear, but I had on these comfortable like silk boxer shorts, like silk underwear.
Yeah.
And I took off my pants and I threw them down the alleyway, and I started stumbling south into the night, knowing there's a town called Half Moon Bay that was 30 miles away.
Yep.
And I thought, run to Half Moon Bay.
Yeah. And no water on you or anything either?
I had $10, $20 stuck in my sock.
Okay.
I stuck a $20 bill in my sock. And this is way before cell phones or anything.
Right.
So, and that was my plan. And, like 10 miles down the road, I started sobering up. I thought,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing? This is really stupid.
Yeah.
But something clicked that night. And I remember looking up and seeing the stars, seeing the Milky Way, and thinking, my God, this is really fucking cool. Like, I love this shit. This is why I'm here. Like, I love to run. I love to do these wild adventures.
Well, you mentioned you hadn't run in 15 years. So like, did you ever run track, or were you a competitive runner at any point? Or was it just like you ran because, yeah.
I know I ran competitively when I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. And we won the league championship. And after that, I decided, that's as far as you're ever going to take. Like, that was the pinnacle moment. You did everything you could do in your running career. So, move on.
And what was it? What were you running? What races? Were you running distance or?
I mean, cross country was like 2.5 miles. It was less than a 5K. That was long distance running. The track guys, their longest distance was like a mile.
Yeah.
And they thought we were crazy because we were running like 2.5 miles.
Yeah.
Which now, it's barely even a warm up. Yeah.
So this 30, I mean, I get the 30 and 30 thing, but like that literally came out of nowhere. Just like, I'm drunk. I'm going to go run 30 miles because I'm 30 and I need some release basically.
Yeah, I needed to feel alive again is what it came down to. I mean, I hadn't felt any real pain, nothing, college, I'm not very smart, but it kind of came easy, graduate school, whatever. I got into business school. I got a good job. I think I accepted my first job offer. I was all of a sudden making money, I bought a house. It was all kind of coming easy. And I thought, well, this is not life. Like life, You lived your life. I remember when I was doing those cross country meets, when your lactic acid is just, in the stratosphere and you're suffering and struggling, and that's when I felt most alive. And I thought it's pretty much true. Is when you're doing these things, you feel like most yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That is fair. And so, like that night while you're running, as you said, you sobered up a little bit. We're thinking, what the hell am I doing? But also, it sounds like, again, you found sort of a happy place that you didn't know existed. So was it like you woke up the next morning, I'm guessing sore as all hell, and we're like, I need to do more of this?
Yeah, very sore.
And by the way, let's get a step back. How long did it take you? Did you run the 30 miles? Did you finish it?
Well, I mean, I'm saying running, but I was like hobbling and shuffling, it wasn't like I was sprinting down the road.
So how many hours did that take you?
It took about a little over 9 hours.
And you started at midnight?
I started at midnight. Yeah.
So sun's up, you're still running through Half Moon Bay, hobbling through Half Moon Bay.
I'm running. I mean, I remember the commuters, like these people looking at me like I was crazy, and I was looking at them.
Were you
like
literally like shirtless and silk shorts, and that's it?
I'm in silk shorts. Yes. All right. But you couldn't tell so much. I mean, they look like board shorts.
Yeah, I get it.
They were like, yeah. I just remember they were looking at me like, I was just like some homeless guy that got loose from the insane asylum. And I was looking at them with their like 7-Eleven cups of coffee and, doing the commute into Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And thinking, you're kind of dead. You're dead. At least I'm alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, again, you get there at 9:30 a.m. How'd you get back? Do you take a cab, or like when you finished this, what was that? Tell me about that piece of it.
Yeah. I called my wife from a payphone. Yeah, outside of 7-Eleven. Literally, there's a 7-Eleven in Half Moon Bay. It's still there, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And there's a payphone. So I called my wife, and she was shocked. She said, my God, I called her collect, by the way. I know you probably don't know what a collect call is, but she had accepted charges,
Yes.
And she said, where are you at? Are you in prison? I said, no, I'm out in front of 7-Eleven, but I need a ride home. And she's like, oh, no questions asked. Like, you've never been out all night like this. I'll come right away. Are you on the 7-Eleven on Geary Street, which is kind of right down the street from our house in San Francisco?
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm at the 7-Eleven in Half Moon Bay. And she said, what? Half Moon Bay? How did you get there? And I said, I ran.
Yeah.
She said, you ran from where? I said, I ran from the bar. And she said, yeah, you don't sound very stable. Just hold tight and I'll be right there. And so she drove down and picked me up. Yeah.
And so did you go home and crash, or like first off, was there this like feeling of achievement, or did you just be like, cool, I did it? Like, how did it feel when you finished that? You ran 30 miles.
I was so completely destroyed from the event itself. And I kind of had a runner's high, and there was so much confusion. I remember I called in sick that day.
Yeah.
But, I was so physically destroyed that I was in the moment, if you will. Like, I wasn't thinking a lot about what's the next step. I just thought that was insane. You're alive. You're really alive. And, yeah.
I get it. And so you go home and pass out, I assume?
I go home and pass out. Yeah.
And then once you woke up, like, did you tell me what happened next? Did you call and quit your job? Like, what was the next step here?
I steadily started moving toward quitting my job. So, there was no gig economy back then. So nowadays, it's a lot easier if you wanted to like pursue your passion. You can start like a side hustle. And back then there was nothing like that. So I was a little concerned, like you're not even a good runner. Like, that almost killed you running 30 miles. If you just quit your job, you're gonna, that's not going to take you anywhere. So I remember going to work, and like at lunch, when everyone was going to lunch, they'd invite me, and I'd say, oh no, I got some work to catch up on. And I'd go into the bathroom at the office and change into my running gear, and then go running and training, and then come back and like do this quick shower in the sink and go back to work. So I started doing that for a while. And I kept up my running. Yeah. And, I was living in San Francisco. I don't know if you've been to San Francisco, but I was running like down to the waterfront, like where Christie Field is, kind of by the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. Running out to the Golden Gate Bridge and back. And I thought I was kind of a badass. Like, I was fit. Like, no one ever passed me. I was always the one passing other people. And I was running maybe 5, maybe 6 miles, at a time, thinking.
So what were your kind of times at that point? Because again, you didn't like you ran at 15 and then you stopped running. So like how fast you're saying you were fast.
I don't, like I said, I'm just running out to the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, I'm kind of an idiot, right? Like there's a guy like, here's a guy who's so competitive, right? You know, on a fun run, you know, a non-competitive jog.
Yeah.
But as I was coming home to my house one day, these two guys just blew by me going up a hill. Like I had to go up this big, if you know San Francisco, you know, pretty much anywhere you run, there's a hill.
Yeah.
So my house is up on, you know, over a hill, and these two guys just blew past me as I was going up this hill.
Yeah.
And they were like a different species. I mean, I remember thinking, my God, I mean, these guys passed me like I was standing still. And, you know, I kind of wanted to talk to them because I never talked to anyone that was that competitive. I didn't know where to go to.
Yeah.
But they disappeared over the top of the hill. And I thought, there's a missed opportunity. Well, I get up there and those two guys they're doing push-ups. Literally at the top, they were doing push-ups. I'm like, no fucking way. These guys are like next level. So I started talking to them, and, you know, I finally got out of them that they were training for a 50-mile race.
Yep.
And I'm like, what, 50 miles? Like, you know, where are the campgrounds? I remember saying, where are the campgrounds or the hotels? Like, where do you stay at? And the guy's like, no, buddy, the gun goes off and you start running. And you finish when you cross the finish line. and his mate said to him, like, you know, if you cross the finish line, kind of elbowing the guy, looking at me like, there's no way this joker would ever cross the finish line.
Yep.
So I heard about this 50-mile race, and I'm like, I got to try this. So I went to the library the next day at lunch, and imagine walking into a library. I mean, this thing called the Dewey Decimal System, like microfiche. So I was looking through the microfilm. I found where this race was, and I signed up, and I went and I did this 50-mile race. And it was the toughest thing I'd ever done in my whole life. I mean, I thought I was going to disintegrate. Literally, I thought like limbs were going to fall off.
At what point did you hit that wall? I'm curious. Like you did 30 miles and hobbled through it, but like for 50, like where did you hit that point where you're like, I don't know how this is going to finish?
Yeah, I knew a marathon was like 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
And when I crossed that threshold, I thought, now you're taking steps into the unknown, because unlike the 30-mile, you know, drunken foray into the night, this was actually a run where I was actually trying to keep a pace going.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, by mile 40, it was as though someone had took a wooden mallet and just hit me in both knees. I mean, the pain was unbearable.
I just did the LA Marathon this year again. I've done it before. I did it. This is my second time. And it's like, it's because like, I can't imagine finishing 26.2h. I haven't done an ultra and going, all right, now another 14, sorry, 24.
It was, almost doing double what you just did.
Yeah.
But I finished, Eric, and I was in like the medical tent at the finish line because I was destroyed. And I remember I was sitting there in this chair, and I was wrapped in one of those Mylar blankets, you know, those space blankets, shivering. I was drooling. You know, they give me like a cup of soup or something. I remember I spilled it all over me. Yeah. And I see those same two guys walking past me, and they're like high-fiving each other, saying, we qualified. And I remember thinking, what'd you qualify for? Like the insane asylum? Yeah. And the guy said, no, we qualified for the Western States 100-mile endurance run. And I'm like, what? Hold it. 100 miles? Like twice what we just did? And he said, yeah, it's twice what we just did. You start at the base of the ski resort, and like the first 5 miles, you run to the very top of the ski resort. Jesus. And then you run through it's in the Sierra Nevada. It's hot during the day. It's cold at night. You cross a river in the middle of the night. And I said, where do you eat? He said, you eat while you run. I'm like, how do you see? He said, you put on a headlamp and you try to finish within 24 hours by the sun rising the next day. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And the last thing they said to me as they were walking out is, hey, buddy, you qualified as well. And when they said that, you know, it was like the Boston Marathon, you know, like LA, you had to run within a certain time. I qualified for this Western States 100-mile endurance run. On accident. An accident as an experiment. But I knew at that moment that if I didn't try this 100-mile race, you know, the rest of my life, I'd think you qualified. And those guys told you, you're sitting in that chair, you idiot, and you didn't try. 100%. So I signed up for the Western States 100-mile endurance run. Yeah.
And how long was this process? Like, how old are you at this point? Was this a year later after the drunken?
It was a year later. Yeah, a year later.
Wow. Yeah, so it happened pretty quick. And were you still working at the marketing job at this point?
I was still working. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And so what's saying that you qualified, is that where, like, at what point do you maybe get a sponsor? Like, does that start, or like, where is it still frankly a hobby at that point?
I mean, this is well before anyone was making any money doing
Yeah.
ultra marathons. And I
Yeah.
mean, even the most elite of the elite marathoners were having a hard time making a career out of it.
Yeah.
So there's no prize money. There's still no prize money in this race, and
Yeah.
it's still going on. Obviously it's a very popular race now.
Yeah. And
But when I did it, there was no sponsorship. There was nothing. Yeah.
how many people did that race, the 100-mile?
It's by a weird chain of circumstances. It's limited to like 370 people. There are 369 people. That's all they can allow in, because it goes through some national forest, and then the forest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was 370 people, and I think that year maybe half, maybe a little over half finished.
Wow. And
So these are like the most elite athletes from around the world. You got to qualify. I mean, the qualifying standards, and it's not like Boston, where you qualify, you get in. You might not hit your your PR that you wanted to hit, but can you imagine where half the people don't even finish?
Yeah. Imagine going through all that, getting in it. Yeah, exactly. Not finishing. So, but it makes sense. Like 100 miles is insane. So how did you train for that? Like, what was how did you go from 50, which I get, you were running, regularly going 5-6 miles, and I'm sure you ramped up, but like going from 50 to 100, like, how do you even train for that and find the time to?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was getting up and running a marathon before breakfast sometimes. Yeah. So I'd get up at like 3 a.m. and run a marathon. Yeah. And a couple of times I did all night runs. So I, put a pack on, with a headlamp and everything, and a credit card or some money, and I just I take off running at like 9 or 10 at night, and I come back at 9 or 7 or 8 or 9 in the morning. So I got myself used.
Was I running like 40 miles, 50 miles, or what was that?
Yeah, it was like 40 or 50 miles, and I wasn't so much interested in the distance. It was just the idea of running all night, because when you run a 100-mile race, you got to get used to sleep deprivation, because you're going to be running for 24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to say, so it's 24 hours. What is that? Is that 4 miles an hour? Yeah, give or take.
The pace depends on the race. I've learned like this race called the Western States 100-mile endurance run. It literally starts in Lake Tahoe. Yeah. And it finishes outside of Sacramento. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, there's something like 16,000 feet of elevation gain and 21,000 feet of down.
Wow.
So, my fastest time there was like 17 and a half hours. Uh-huh. But you have up to 30 hours to do it. But an easier 100-mile race can go faster.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I as someone that, like, when I ramped up for the marathon, I was not in any running shape, and it was like, I had miles, splits where I was doing 4 or 5 miles an hour, and it's like, it sounds slow until you've been running for 15 miles and you're not in shape for it, and then you're like, yeah, no, that's actually hard to maintain those 4 to 5 miles an hour. So I get it. And so, okay, so the training side, you did it, and how'd it go? How'd the first one go?
I did really well, actually. I finished in I think 21 hours, and I think I was 15th overall.
Wow.
So yeah, I was very surprised at how well I did, not having any idea what I was doing going into it. I mean, I remember I was running in like rip curl board shorts. Like, I didn't even know what running. I mean, it was, it's the early 90s. Yeah.
How did the like really focused pros that were like, I'm sure all the best gear, et cetera, seeing you run by in board shorts, you get any comments?
I got a lot of strange looks at the start. Yeah. Yeah. But there just wasn't a lot of information back then. You couldn't just go into a browser and say, how to train, how to dress for an ultramarathon. There was nothing like that. So that first experience was really helpful, because I saw what the other people were, like the people that knew what they were doing. I saw what they were wearing, what they were eating, what they were drinking. So, I improved from there.
Yeah. And so how did it progress from there? Like, now you've done this 100-mile race. Like, what was your kind of vision for what's next? Did you knew you wanted to be out of your job, but what was your kind of path to that?
I kind of just thought yeah, wow, that was really cool running 100 miles. Like I really dug the whole experience, and I thought, and I made it, 9 hours before the cutoff. I was in pretty good shape. I finished pretty close to the top, and I thought, can you go further than that? And I learned about this race called the Badwater Ultramarathon, which ironically is next weekend. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Badwater Ultramarathon.
Valley?
Yeah, Death Valley. It starts in Badwater, which is the lowest point in the Western Hemisphere, which is in the middle of Death Valley, and it finishes in the portals of Mount Whitney. So it's from the lowest point to the highest point across Death Valley in the middle of summer. And it was 135 miles.
Oh.
So I learned about this race. I'm like, you got to try this one too.
Well, what's the temperature usually? Like, what was it the day you did it?
That year, it got up to 129. Yeah.
All you're running out
it was.
Yeah.
You thought the LA Marathon was hot, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, was a beautiful day. I actually, what's funny is the LA Marathon I actually enjoyed. It was the training commitment. That's why I asked about that. That was hard for me. I have a young family, so it was like going out on a Sunday. I was not the guy waking up at 3 a.m. to go do this because I didn't need to be exhausted at work too. So it was my Sundays were my long runs, and it was like, going out for 3 hours, for even 4 hours at times. It was like, that was a lot. But yeah, so in terms of that race, like, tell me more, like, how do you survive running 135 miles in 129 degrees or 120?
Well, one thing is you run on the white line because the asphalt gets up to 200 degrees and it'll melt your shoes. So you run down the white line. Yeah. When it's that hot, even if you put UV, 100% UV protective sunscreen on, your skin can blister.
Yeah.
So you cover up. You wear like a white UV protective suit.
Yeah.
I was carrying a plant mister with ice water in there, and I was misting myself, as I was running, trying to stay cool.
Yep. And and do you have like a support truck right next to you or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, now it's a very competitive race, and people have sometimes have two support vehicles.
Yeah.
Back then, when the first year I did it, which was 1995, it was just my poor dad. He was supporting me, and I mean, if you ever go out there in the middle of summer and see how hot it is, that's one thing. But the other thing is, the car didn't have the air conditioners broke and stopped working, so he had no AC. You're only allowed to crew for someone if you pull off the side of the road. Well, a lot of the turnouts are like deep sand, so you can get the car stuck. So we got the car stuck one time. I remember that. We're both, I'm in the middle of this 135-mile race. We're both trying to push the car, out of this. Yeah. So it was harrowing. Yeah.
And was the training similar for the 100-mile race? Was it just like going out at night and weekends and mornings and, just same kind of training regimen, or was it different in that sense? Like, did you train?
No, I mean, I was in the San Francisco Bay Area, and which does not get that hot in the summer. So I was putting on like North Face puffy jackets, and running in the middle of the day. So running at 2 p.m. in a puffy jacket. I was going into the gym, into the sauna at the gym, and doing push-ups and sit-ups, like reps of push-ups and sit-ups inside the sauna. Yeah. Yeah.
And
so I was doing some specific training.
Did that get you ready for it? Did you feel prepared when you went into it?
Nothing gets you ready for that heat. No, I mean, it's just savage out there. And the other thing with that race, there can be a headwind. Yeah. So, and not only is it brutal running into a headwind, from the resistance, but I mean, it dries out your eyeballs, your sinuses, everything. You just get so dehydrated. So and there can be dust as well. There can be dust storms.
Yeah.
So, your eye, so it's a really tough race.
And so how many people run that, by the way, or did that in 95?
In 95, when I did it the first time, I think there was 23.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I think now it's, like I said, it's a competitive race where, you got to submit an application. Yeah. And I think they allow in 95 runners. Okay. I think they cap it at 95. Yeah.
And at this point, are you still working full time at the pharmaceutical company?
Yeah, I'm still working full time. Yeah.
Well, how many years? So you decided you didn't want to be there at 30. This is 2 years later, give or take?
I would, this is about 2.5 years later, the bad water. Yeah.
I just want to highlight that because it's like, there's something about that discipline grit in that sense. Obviously you have grit on the running side. That's not a debate, but even on the job side, like you knew 2.5 years before you didn't want to do this, but you knew you had to keep doing the things you wanted to do and stuck with it out of, knowing there was a light at the end of the tunnel. At some point you would be able to move on, but you still were like, but right now this is what I need to do the things I want to. And you just stuck with it, which is impressive. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially these days, get in their head like, I don't know if I really like this anymore. And they just quit, no plan. Sometimes that works out, but a lot of times it's like, you don't need to do that. Like the delayed gratification, I guess is what I'm saying, is impressive, where you're like, you knew you didn't want to do that, but you stuck with it. Obviously you did enough to keep the job too. And, while you were still able to start pursuing these other dreams and this other thing.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's because I had no choice, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I had to keep my job. And even when I decided, hey, I'm going to become a full-time athlete, ultramarathoner, it was still terrifying, to step away from that sort of security that I had.
And so when did that hit? When did you decide, okay, this is something I'm going with fully?
I think it was about 2004.
Oh, so it was 9 years after.
Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 years of doing this. I wrote a book, and it's called Ultramarathon Man, Confessions of an All-Night Runner. Yeah. And I wanted to write a book, Eric. It was like another goal I had, run an ultramarathon, write a book, go skydiving, whatever, swim with sharks. And I thought, if 5 of my buddies buy this book, I'll be lucky. Yeah. And it became like a New York Times bestseller. Nice. International bestseller. I mean, I think it's in print in like 21 languages. Yeah. So once the money from the book deal was decent, but it wasn't huge. Yeah. But what it gave me was the confidence to know that, hey, you can turn this into a living somehow, because people are so interested in these stories. I mean, I'm writing about me running across Death Valley, like a very gritty, detailed, expose on me running 135 miles, like what happened to me, all the trials and tribulations along the way. And people really ate it up. Even non-runners, they said, this is so motivational and so energizing. So I thought, okay, there's a way, you can use what you're doing and somehow monetize that.
Yeah. And just to clarify, were you still in that job in 2004 before that all happened?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I think when the book came out is when I turned in my resignation around 2004.
So you basically had about a decade of, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to stick with it because I need to for now while I do these other things.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like amazing. It was funding my adventures. That's the way I looked at it. Like, okay, you're doing your job just to fund these ultramarathons you're doing.
But I think that there's sincerely, there's such a lesson in that it's like, I've just learned this about life. Like, I love what I do. I built my marketing company and it's been awesome. But there are parts of your life and your job that support the other things in life that you want to do. And not 100% of most people's life is everything they want to do always. I'm not saying that you don't get to a point maybe after you left that job that, all of this is great. But it's just, I think, a really important lesson for a lot of people that it's okay to do certain things you don't want to do to live the life you want to live. One of the mantras I always tell myself is work like most won't so you can live like most can. No, I don't actually have an addiction to wanting to work 70 hours, 80 hours a week, but I do it a lot because it opens up all these other opportunities for me that are worth it. And it's like, is it worth it? And I think that's really cool that you stuck with that and to the point that you actually could make that transition in such a long period of time. So you took that leap. You got a little bit of a book deal, but obviously that's a one-time thing unless the book sells, which it did. But from there, how did you take that leap? What did you do? Did you start speaking? What were the things that you did to monetize this?
Yeah, I started getting asked to do corporate keynotes. Yeah. So I started doing some speaking. At the end of I've run this Western States 100-mile endurance run I described. I've run it now, I think, 13 times. Uh-huh. And at the finish of one of the races, these representatives from the North Face approached me, and they said, the North Face apparel company, the mountain climbing company, and they said, hey, this trail running thing is kind of starting to take off. We'd like to make some shoes specifically for trail running. And this is kind of before any shoes existed that were not road shoes for like the LA Marathon, but actually made for running on a dirt trail. So they said, "Do you want to help us do this?"
Yeah.
And name your price. What would it and what would it take to have you help us? So I started working with the North Face, which was a great job. And they told me about this expedition proposal system they have, where every year the athletes submit proposals for funding an expedition.
Yeah.
Most of these expeditions, are like climbing the North Face of Everest, or, they're always on the mountains. And I had this idea, well, an expedition can be urban as well. It doesn't have to be on some remote, Himalayan mountain. And so I proposed running 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days. Like, let's do this insane, expedition across America, like that combines athleticism with travel and adventure. And they loved it. The marketing VP of marketing at the time just thought it was the greatest idea ever. So in 2006, with the North Face, I did this 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days tour, because it really became like a commercial tour. And it was, again, wildly successful. It spawned a documentary movie, another book deal, sponsorship from other companies, including Toyota Motor Cars, which, Toyota sponsored it, and then Timex watches, some big corporate sponsors.
Yep. And so did it just, like, from there? I mean, again, I assume you made a good amount of money for that allowed you to, keep going with this, but how does that perpetuate? I mean, you're used to having a 10-year job and salary and consistency. Like, that's awesome. Let's start with the most important question. Did you do 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states?
Yeah, I did. Nice. Yeah.
And so what did that lead to? Did that lead to like ongoing, and I say this just because I'm always curious about, obviously you love running, you're going to keep going for, bigger goals. And that's a huge part of, that's an awesome life to lead, but to be able to sustain that financially and it was a lifestyle, like at that point, were you able to like start to keep like some sponsors or like get this to be sustainable as well?
Yeah, it started, there was enough there where I could, quit my corporate job. Yeah. And I mean, in all honesty, maybe I would have done better financially if I'd stayed in my corporate gig. Yeah. But whatever, I was so much happier doing what I love to do. Yeah. And then, other opportunities came to me from other sponsors, and I started working with other sponsors. And then, I got more invitations to do, corporate keynote addresses, and then helping with RD&D, like research and development, design and development with other companies, designing other types of products. Yeah. And then people started sending me all kinds of gizmos and gadgets and, apps. Most of it's just garbage. But every once in a while, someone would send me something like, my God, this is so innovative. So I started doing some very early angel investing, even pre-seed investing in some small companies that I thought were promising. And that's kind of paid off as well. So, I've kept my eyes, pretty much open, and I've been kind of receptive to opportunities that have come in and tried to do my best there as well.
Love that. And so a couple more questions for you. Number one, what's next? What, you kind of you've set the bar higher and higher and higher. Are you going to run, 1,000 miles anytime soon?
Yeah. I'm living spending most of my time now in Greece, in Athens, Greece, which is, I'm 100% Greek. And yeah,
and where marathons come from. So that's cool.
Yeah. So, a lot of people don't even know. And marathon's like a really killer beach, it's like Malibu. So I'm doing a lot of promotions for Greece to try to get Greece better recognition as the birthplace of the marathon and of the Olympics. So telling some history stories. But ultimately, my goal is to try to run from the lowest point on Earth to the highest point on Earth.
So Everest.
Yes. And when I say run, I mean, height.
What is the lowest? I know Death Valley is the lowest here, but what's the lowest on Earth?
The Dead Sea in Jordan.
Oh, the Dead Sea. Got it.
Yeah.
I've been. Yeah. So you want to run from Jordan to Everest?
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. What's the timeline on that?
It really depends. I mean, I'm working with another ultra marathoner, Charlie Engle, an old friend of mine, to do it together. And you might have you had him on your podcast?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, so
I
great
know
guy.
I've met Charlie at a few events. We were a part of a group together, so I've actually hung out with Charlie a bit.
Yeah, so we're trying to decide like when we can do this and how we can do it because the most direct route goes through Iraq and Iran,
Yeah.
and the State
Yeah.
Department's not too keen on us. And sometimes the political environment chills to the point where they say, okay, maybe, and then
Yeah.
like what we've seen recently, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
So to go the more northern route, like through the stands, through Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, that adds so many logistical complexities.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it's a 2027, expedition. That's my hope.
Keep me posted on that. That's awesome. That would be a really cool thing to see. Have you been to Jordan? Have you been to the Dead Sea?
I've been to Jordan. I've been to the Dead Sea. I've never been to Everest. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I've done Jordan.
Yeah.
It's an awesome place. I should have known where the lowest place on earth is. I remember the signs for it. And so last question, what would be your piece of advice for someone that wants to pursue their big goals, dreams, and like actually get after it? Like what's something you either heard or wish you heard that really kept you going to get to where you are?
To me, if I had to distill my strongest quality or trait, be it in business or in life, it's curiosity. So, have an endless curiosity for whatever path you want to go down. Try to spend, I think it was Socrates who said, we have 2 ears and 2 eyes and 1 mouth, and we should use both those and all of those in proportion. So try to listen and look a lot more than you talk, and just keep the eyes of a child. Stay endlessly curious. Yeah.
Love that. Well, Dean, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on HawkeTalk.
Thanks for having me run by.
Of course.
And congratulations on the LA Marathon. Yeah.
Thank you.